And these bitches have gray hair and dress like they're 100 when really they're 50, and they could be popping it like Elizabeth Hurley in a bikini, like looking fire, and more so than half of the 20-year-olds out there. Like, I'm just saying, right? Kate Winslet talked about getting up on testosterone, literally getting up on testosterone treatment. And you may be thinking, like, are you trying to grow a pair of balls? Like, what's happening here? Like, are you literally not theoretically, are you physically trying to grow a pair of balls? Because, like, we know your character in the Titanic didn't have balls because, like, she threw Jack under the bus and let him drown into the deep blue sea. But are you trying to grow balls? No, she's not trying to grow balls, people. Kate Winslet came out and talked about how, as, you know, a middle-aged woman, her libido was a suffering. Like, it wasn't popping as much. And she just didn't have the sex drive that she wanted. So she actually said, you know, women have testosterone too. And when our testosterone dips, so does our freaky deaky in the bedroom. And so I want to liven that shit up. You know, I've been with my man a long time and make Kate Winslet sexy again. Like, let's fucking go. Like, the American cause of our times, right? And I really love this because it got a lot of attention. And this literally was just a day ago. She said this on a podcast. So I don't know if it's getting like flag or controversy. I just know that it got attention. But why? Because it's the idea of like, wait, the idea of women have testosterone too. It's not just a male thing, but being out of the box and also challenging that concept of women and their kitty cats not living 7 lives. You know, the idea of women getting older and drying up, so to speak. And she's like, oh, hell no, bitch, I'll show you. And I really love that, right? Because we're going to get to this, but we see women get older and older and hotter and hotter. And I really love that. It's really like defying, again, that idea of time and age and how you're supposed to be as a woman who's older. Meanwhile, you have these fuckers like Al Pacino who are literally 1 foot in the grave on their deathbed and popping out kids at like 98 years old with 20-year-old models. So I'm just saying, I love this idea of like, you know, I'm going to try something out of the box, get a little testosterone, like, you know, take some steroids out of A-Rod's supply, and let's do this. No steroids were harmed in the making of this video. But you get that idea. And it actually made me reflect upon, because this is such a common thing of like women who are older should act, like they should literally be the Golden Girls personified. And these bitches have gray hair and dress like they're 100 when really they're 50, and they could be popping it like Elizabeth Hurley in a bikini, like looking fire, and more so than half of the 20-year-olds out there. Like, I'm just saying, right? But again, this concept of like the older you get, the less like sexed out you are as a woman, the less like hot you are, all this, like all of this complete and utter nonsense, you know, Sabrina Carpenter style. So it made me think about my time on the Whatever podcast. Okay. Because unbeknownst to me, and I realized it wasn't just the panel that I was on, but they love to do this thing. First of all, if you don't know, now you know. Basically, their whole shtick is they bring on women to make women basically look stupid and look dumb and throw them under the bus and make them look useless, right? So they have this little segment where they ask us if we think we would look better now or when we're 50, right? And some of you may have seen the one that they do too, like name your hottest woman, and mine was Pam Anderson. And then they're like, okay, how do you rate, you know, going up against them? You know, how would you compare, right? So just to make women basically look stupid. By the way, what you may not have seen, as I turned it around on these two dudes, and I'm like, are you going to compare yourself to Tom Brady? I'm waiting. You already have our asses going 8 hours. So what's another 30 seconds? Like, what's it going to be, bro? You next to Tom Brady. You next to Brad Pitt. I'm waiting. Anywho, they love to do this thing, right? Of would you look better, you know, then or now? And some of the women will say, I think that I look good now, but I think I would look better then. I even have this theory, right? Because when women are like really up on their fitness and they're like looking good, like keeping it right, keeping it tight, bitch, they can age like a fine wine, you know, like the Brad Pitt, like the George Clooney without his politics, like just as, especially nowadays, right? And I personally feel like I've grown, and I feel, and I'm not saying this just to be cocky, I'm sure a lot of you women listening to this feel the same. Like, I feel like I've grown into my womanhood, and of course I went on my sex goddess body journey. Wink, wink. Shameless plug. But I feel like I've grown into who I am as a woman and look better and more fit and all this than I was even in my 20s, right? So I even was like, I'm looking forward to like I hope I'm killing it right at that age. And when people say this on their show, when women say this, they will literally put up a YouTube video with clickbaity, BS of, this person is delusional enough to think she'll look better at 50 than now, right? So again, it's all these things and all these old tropes and these old ideas of not getting with the times, of like, who gives a fuck? Who says? Who decided? I'm sorry. Are you the clockmaker, TikToker of our time? Now, if you get what I'm saying, it's like, who deemed you the sayer of all things regarding the time? Like, I don't think so.